and then I can scroll back.
But I agree, guys. If you guys have a couple extra bucks like laying around, go buy Tim's stuff. It's really good.
Go give it to Tim. Go give it to Tim.
Well, actually,
it's only gonna benefit you, and it's really good. So might as well.
The work desk is freaking disgustingly disorganized.
Alright, I'm going to do something else here too this time. I'm going to turn on Camtasia, and it should be able to record system audio.
I had a weird issue with NGUI the other day. It was giving me all these errors. It's weird.
Okay, so we are going to... Oh, look, there's an update. So in the link where I've been sitting...
His asset, he doesn't even know it.
That's because I already have the latest. But in the link I've been sitting for these OUYA updates, I put an eval key so you can use it for free for a week. So that's definitely worth checking out.
Like I'm using good SVN for a week or whatever. What, March 8th. God damn, Tim.
Well, I'll just put a
bring
new
the
one
price
out.
down.
It will. Hang on. It will. Hang on. There we go. Import.
He's got you hooked.
Exactly. He's like, he gets you like a trial on the product until you really like it, and then he makes it like available on the store, and you're like, damn, I wish I had money.
Maybe you need to make this like subscription based.
Bad idea.
Just
Do
keep
that. Man, I can't figure out how to use Scaleform.
Isn't it like sort of middleware? So if you have somebody who's like just the bomb at Flash, they can work on your 3D project. Like why would you want it as an independent developer?
I don't know. I just kind of want to see it.
So while we're waiting for Kevin's download here, I updated the OUYA build so that there's a new PDF of the OUYA Unity package, and I rewrote the sections for the starter kit, and I rewrote the sections for on input, and started the purchase section. So you should be able to just click that, and if you have Acrobat Reader, you should just.
So if we have a previous version, what's the best way to go from that to this? Like, should we start with a new project and?
Yeah, actually, that's the easiest way. You can always like use WinMerge, which is a free tool, and if you check it out to a new project, you can manually diff it in. But when you import it, you also get an import list, and as long as you've checked in what you have and backed up what you already have, you should be able to like select, and it'll tell you the files have changed. So I've updated the dock here to make some of the pretty bad echo.
Yeah, I heard the echo too.
Okay, so now the images are more inlined, and like before, when I started back in November, it was used the Android Min SDK 14, and I updated it to say 16, which is going to be the one that's in stores. And I documented like the scene setup. Okay, so here's Android. And if this is blurry for you, don't worry. Like I'm doing a Camtasia on my screen here, so you should be able to read it at HD afterwards. So opening the panel and the tabs, you kind of already know this. My screenshot's already out of date a little bit because I've added some new stuff. Okay, so I've added these helper buttons here when you get the new update, where these are the different examples, and if you've imported the examples and the starter kit, you can just click these buttons. And if I go to my build settings, okay, so it automatically sets up your build settings for the scene that goes with the examples. So you have your show products scene and your SDK scenes. These are all single scenes. But then you have, yeah, the starter kit has a better setup example because it's got the init scene that has the OUYA game object in it. And there's actually a new folder. So starter kit. So the init scene has a OUYA scene init script on it, and it tells it what scene to go to next. And it goes to the splash screen, which goes to the main scene, and then you can toggle between the game scene and the main scene, or go back to the splash screen. It's got some awesome graphics this time. So it's got your hello world, a nice little splash screen that fades in, fades out, and then it shows how to do the scene switching. And the main part of the example with this one is the OUYA game object is only in your init scene with don't destroy unload, and it's not in any of the other scenes. And as you switch, you'll see it's there at runtime, and it's got the right setup. I might add some like crossfading and audio to the examples as we go forward. Okay.
Tim, that Photoshop file is done now.
Okay. So let's take a look at main menu from Pytheria. So, if you guys don't already know, Photoshop CS2 is actually a free download now. So, if you have any clients that use Photoshop, it makes it pretty handy. Oh, that's weird. I resized it and it did something weird. Okay. So Kevin, well, I'm surprised it took so long to update it.
I don't even know where to go to get it.
You're going to want to slice up your image to work with NGUI sprites. So like each little sprite would be a different section. Like I would cut it up so that this relapse thing was a single PNG image, and like this little icon.
What about just cutting the buttons individually and then just having that other part the background?
Yeah, but that's okay too, I suppose. I mean, you can have fonts for your font part. It's just I ran into memory issues on the iPad where you can only have like maybe 4 things this big in memory without it just crashing. So you really want to optimize your sprite lists, because you could get away with like an optimized font for your text, and then you can do little tricks like you only need half of that, and then you mirror it. But this is all like kind of a unique texture. But I mean, you could make it so you've got a repeating thing. But then again, it's only a splash screen. If you only show that, it's not like you're layering a bunch of them. You can take it out of memory as you switch to the various screens. All right. Well, I'll just show you kind of an example of how you might build an atlas out of this. So I would cut this guy up and assume I get little images like this. And so you're just gonna put them into a folder. And PNG. Okay, so with Unity, PNG is a good format because you can work with it at runtime and you can use it as a streaming format. You can also do JPEGs, but PNG is the only one that you can create at runtime if you wanted to create new textures or something. Oh. Okay. Okay. So I'm just cutting up the image here. Do you have any more game-oriented sprites? Like...
What do you mean? Like characters and stuff?
Yeah, because you were working on like a 2D type game, right?
Yeah, I was, but the characters aren't ready yet, so...
Yeah, they're still under development.
Yeah, the characters aren't done yet. They're being made.
Okay, so I made a couple of images there. Now if I go back into Unity.
If you guys hear people yelling about soccer in the background, I'm really sorry.
I turned the ball, right? I was going this way.
Huge soccer fans here.
Okay, so now that I've imported NGUI, I've got this NGUI menu here, and I just go to Atlas Maker. And then you name your atlas that you're going to make. So this should be like your UI main atlas. You can create it, and it'll create a prefab for you. And then making an atlas is as easy as you select the textures you want to put in your atlas, and you hit the Add button. And that's it. It made an atlas for you. And it looks like it's really powerful if you have like a lot of little things. It automatically builds your sprite list. And
So I won't have to like resize anything in Photoshop, right?
no, it'll. Trying to grow my. I guess I could double click it. Here we go. All right, so I automatically laid it out, and it built the UV and built a new texture for you.
Oh, nice.
And all you had to do is like click a couple images, you hit Create Atlas, and it makes
Now
it.
with NGUI, can you make like hover images? Like the white background is supposed to be like on hovered. So like
Right.
if you go over it, then it kind of hovers.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you do that kind of stuff.
In the actual coding or something?
Yeah, like I use a UI image button, and then I just mess with the color slider, and you do your sprites in such a way that the color slider would change your text color. And then if you have a background that you want to change the color independently, you put your background on another UI image button, or it's a UI sprite.
Could I just make
So-
like two buttons and then just kind of like switch between the buttons?
You can do that too. It's
All
pretty
right.
flexible on how you do it.
All right, perfect.
Okay, so to start making stuff within GUI, you're going to create widgets. So you just to create a widget, you have to make a new UI. So they have different layers. Usually have like a GUI layer or something. Okay, and then you tell it what camera to do. Marco has a good tutorial on like the different options and different ways that you can make NGUI stuff, because you can do it for your 2D UIs and your 3D UIs, and he covers that pretty good. Okay, so this is going to create a UI panel, and so now I have a new panel. It gives it a root, camera, anchor, and then panel, and then you can name your thing like whatever this is. So this would be your main UI, and now you have something to work with. And so we built that atlas, and now we can build things for the atlas with the widget tool. So you could create something like an image button, and this is where those states that you were talking about are. So you have different states for hover, pressed, whatever. In this case, I'll set it all to the same button, and then I can just change the color.
So how did you get to that widget tool again? Sorry.
Okay. So you just go to NGUI, create a widget. So create a new UI for a different panel, and create a widget. You use panels so that you can get different layering. So if you want to have a layered effect, and you want to have like some text behind and some text in front of different UIs, it kind of depends on the UI that you're building.
Okay.
So create a widget opens this, and then you just tell it where you want to make the thing. It'll have everything's opening in different places. Here we go. So you'll have a list of the different UIs that you can create the widget on. You just select it. And if you have a font created, you can use that. And now I can add it to the thing. Okay. And now we have an image button in our scene. There we go. So the nice thing about NGUI is it's got really good performance, and there's a lot of cool things that you can do with it. It's already got like an established, lots of goodies. Like one of my favorite things is component, NGUI interaction, and they have this button message component you can add to your buttons. And what that does is when they click on your button, you give it a target. When they click on your button, you can say, okay, invoke on this game object, invoke this function. So you'd have like a run attack method on some game object. And by clicking that button, it'll cause it to execute that code. And then this saves you from like always attaching custom scripts just to do like simple stuff. You can have a module, and all your code is contained within that module. Okay, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. We're just basic. So we have an image button, and you can have different states. So if I wanted to have it change when I hover it and click it. Okay, so image buttons have a background, and they also have a size. So okay, so it has a size, and then just always make sure that your collider is the same size as your background, because sometimes it seems like it assigns it randomly. Okay, that's right. And sometimes you get weird offsets. I like getting rid of the offsets. And if you look at your scene, you can double click your button and it'll take you right to that. I think the green area is the collider. Yeah. So if you had something with transparent areas, or you wanted to change your clickable areas to do different things, you can do that with your box colliders. Okay, and then, okay, so I'm going to get rid of this button message because I don't really have a script to execute yet. Another thing to make sure is on your image button that they have the right layer, which is GUI. There's probably a font in the stuff that I download. Oh, there's also examples. Maybe if I go to an example scene, I'll. There we go. So it's got nice anchoring. You can set up like grids and stuff, so it'll like snap to different locations. Here we go. That's all I was trying to do, is set up like a button click event, and it's got the hover states. So if I look at this, okay. So you just kind of look at the examples, and you can see what components are attached. So UI button tween. Okay, so the color one, definitely no, because that changed it green. So you can see over 0.2 seconds it changes to a target color, and then when you hover out, it goes back to its default. So they had a default layer. Maybe that's what I should have used. It's pretty fancy. It's attached to a animation. Maybe that's how they got the spreeness to go in there. They also have like, you can just throw on a scale transform, and then on hover it'll invoke that, and you can change the scale or transform it so it like moves when you push down on it, like a physical press. Huh. Okay, so here's another one of the cool widgets, which is the UI Splice sprite. So like, you could like store this huge honkin' button in your sprite atlas, but that's going to take a lot of room. So they've set up these regions where you just have to specify the borders for the different, well, basically the border, and then it stretches that inner part across the whole button.
Could I do that for my buttons, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a good idea to do it that way, so you can avoid running out of memory when you start to have lots.
Yeah, but mine's got like a bunch of like different patterns on them.
Well, they also have a tiled sprite, so you could set this up for the borders, and then you throw in a tiled sprite for like repeating patterns. Then again,
How
I
do
mean,
you
you
tell
don't.
like how much memory you've used? Like let's say for on the OUYA.
Well, they do have the profiler, and on the iPad, like if you use too much, then your game just exits. So that's definitely, and there's like a who knows what this error was kind of thing. There's also the memory profiler, so you can go into the profiler. And I'm on 357 right now. The 4.x profiler is a lot better, where it'll drill down to specific game objects that are using memory. So you can see how much memory is using, how much rendering usage that you're doing. And I think in some of the Ninja camps, they've even shown like what's in each draw call kind of thing. So if you use like Pix, the performance inspector for the Xbox, that kind of lets you record your game in DirectX for a few seconds or whatever, and then you can reproduce a bug or a performance glitch, and then drill down into like all the layers that, so you can see what your overdraw is and eliminate your performance bottlenecks. So I'm guessing on this bigger background here that they probably used a tile spray. No, why not? See. Examples are a good place to see like how they did certain things. So if you go up to the UI panel part, you can see what access or what atlas they used. Here we go. Well, that just looks like a sprite sheet. Well, a bit. Yeah, hang on. Oh yeah, there we go. UI tiled sprite. Sanity returns. Okay, well, UI tiled sprite is just going to keep repeating that pattern across. And then, okay, so you've got like, as you're designing your stuff, you have access to some other things like layering. My gizmos are really big.